Hello friends, welcome back. Tired of worrying about accidental changes or unauthorized access in your Azure environment? With Azure RBAC, you control who can do what with precision. Imagine granting a team member view-only access, no changes, just insights. In this video, we'll explore how Azure Roles keeps your resources secure, organized, and under control. Let's dive in how RBAC simplifies the access management. Alright, so before we dive into the real-time demo, let's have an overview of this Azure Roles, what and why. Azure Roles are role-based access control, that's why it's called RBAC, is the way Azure manages access to resources. Instead of giving you full access, RBAC lets you assign specific roles like reader or contributor to the users or the groups. Groups are nothing but a collection of users. Imagine a scenario where you only want a team member to view resources but not make any change. You assign them the reader role, problem solved. RBAC ensures security and precision in access management. So no more accidental deletion or unauthorized changes. It's all about the control. What is Azure RBAC? Role-based access control. Azure RBAC is basically a system that provides the fine-grained access management to Azure resource. Okay? It allows you to control who can access to Azure resource, what they can do with those resources, and what areas they have access to. So based on the principle of least privilege, remember this is very important, based on the principle of least privilege, users are granted only the permissions they need to perform their task. Okay, that's the thumb rule, that's the principle that is applied on the rollback. That's the principle that is applied on the RBAC. Now, don't get confused with RBAC and policies. I have a video dedicated for Azure policies, which I will put in the description. So, policies to enforce certain regulations or standard at organization level. RBAC is all about fine-grained access management to the Azure resources. Alright, so why use Azure RBAC? It has security, granular control, flexibility, compliance. Security is basically to limit the access only to those who need it, so that no accidental changes or unauthorized access is allowed. Granular control. Granular control means you have a subscription under that many resource group. Each resource group will have some resource. Even you can go and control a particular user, what he or she can do on a particular resource level. So those kind of things, like very detailed granular level control is possible. Flexibility, like you have some inbuilt thing called owner, contributor, readers, or even you can define your own custom roles, for very precise access management. Now the organization, right, that helps to compile with this compliance, so that we know for sure that anyone in the organization doesn't have unnecessary access to the system. Alright, so all of these things are ensured that RBAC will take care. Now let's talk about the key components of Azure RBAC. So it has some security principles. Basically, it represents a user, group, or an application that requests access to the resources. And then role definition, a collection of permissions. It could be a reader, contributor, or even a custom role. And there is something called owner, which is a full access, including managing access to the resources. Contributor role means can manage the resource but can't manage the access. Reader is just they can read, only view access. They cannot make any change. Scope means basically where is this applied to? That is what called scope. Is it in a subscription level, resource group level, or at an individual resource level? You can even and then role assignment, the process of attaching a role definition to a security principle at a certain scope. So basically you have a RBAC now like created, and you attach that to a security principle, which is to a user or a group or an application, and at a scope level. So that's what important, right? Scope is where this is applied, under which resource group or under which resource this RBAC is applied. That is what called role assignment. So before we dive into the real-time demo, let's take example of some scenarios, right? Scenario 1, you can assign a reader role to the security auditors who monitors the compliance without making any change. And there could be some contributor role to the developers who needs to manage the resource but should not alter the access permission, which means if you are a contributor to a particular resource group, you can actually manage all the resource, but you cannot manage the access permission for those resource group. Owner means, owner is again a role given to a team leads who needs full control, including managing access. For example, if I'm a team lead and you're a contributor role, you will be able to manage the resource, but you cannot give or revoke permission for anyone else on that resource group. But I can do as a owner because I have access to everything. So that's the difference between contributor, owner, and the reader. So now let's dive into the demo and then we'll come back to the summary. Alright, RBAC demo time. Now, I have logged into the portal.azure.com. I'm going to show you a real-time scenario. Okay, so let's first go to users. Okay, I'm going to create a new user and imagine the user is called contributor. I'm going to name the user as contributor. Okay, and then it's a display name. This is the password. I'm going to copy this because it'll ask me to change it. Next is property. I'm going to fill this. So it's a contributor. It's a test. Okay, assignment. Okay, so remember this. Whenever you are creating a user, you can actually assign role while you're creating user. But generally speaking, this doesn't happen. Okay, because we don't know whether the user will, at that point of time, whether he or she will have a role or group. In case if they have, yes, they'll be put into some default groups. But let's create just a user. Go to the last step. I'm going to copy this. That's the email ID that I need to log in. And then I'm going to create it. Now, if you look at this, if I refresh, there's already a user called reader. And then we just created a user called contributor. Now, what we are going to do is, like I said, RBAC can be applied at a 3 different scopes level. One is subscription. So if I go to subscription, it will show me all of my subscriptions. I have 2 subscriptions. So if I choose a particular subscription, there's something called access control. You see this IAM. I can click here. I can proceed further from here. So I can choose this as the scope. Now, let's say I'm on the subscription. Okay, so let's say I go to the resource group. I'm going to go to this particular resource group. Here also IAM is there, access control. So like I said, the IAM access control where you set this RBAC roles are available at the subscription level, resource group level, resource level. Okay, even if you choose a particular resource, IAM will be there. Now, let's say for this resource group, I'm going to add an assignment. Add a role, and then here let's say the reader role. I'm going to give a reader role, select reader, say next. Members, this is the place where you need to choose whether it's a user or a group or a service principal or even managed identity. We'll talk about managed identity service principal in a separate video. Basically, now what we are going to choose is we're going to choose this role to be applied on a particular user. So in our case, it's a select member. It will show all of our existing users. I'm going to choose the reader user. Select. I selected the user. Next. Assign. Okay. So for this resource group, for that user, reader role is given. Alright. So now what we are going to do is we are going to go to that resource group, particular resource group, and then there also there is an IAM. Right. I'm going to choose an add role assignment. This time we will choose contributor role. You see there is something called a privileged administrator role. If you go here, there are inbuilt contributor roles. I chose this. I choose next. Now it's all contributor role. Now the difference between this contributor role and if you try to search contributor here, so these contributors are some specific thing. For example, API management service contributor. We're not dealing with that. That's a specific API management resource based contributor, so we don't deal with that. All what we want is under that resource group, we want this contributor role. Like it's like full contributor. It does grant full access to manage all resources, but not allow you to assign roles in these things, right? And then I choose next. This time I choose the user called contributor, and then I choose the next one. Everything looks good. Alright, so what we will do is we will go and log in. So for example, I sign out this. I'm going to log in. Okay, so I'm going to log in with the portal with the reader role. This time I'm going to take the reader role. So I will choose another user. You see this reader. Okay, so very first time, so you give the old password and then the new password. So I'm gonna no thanks, ask later. So I logged in as a reader. I don't need this. If I go to the resource, I am able to go and see these three resources. I didn't see anything else because as a user I have read access, so I'm able to see I can read everything from that particular resource group. Now if I try to delete or rename, even if I try to rename like this, you see this, I cannot do that. But if I log in as a contributor, it should allow us to do. So let's do that now. So I'm going to reset the password for the first time because those users were first time created. Ask later. Now I am a contributor on that particular resource group, so I will not have access to any other resource group, but when I log in as a user, I will see only the resource that I have access to. So for example, I don't need this. If I go to all resource, you see again only 3 are showing because I have access only to these things. But if I go here and if I try to rename now, it is renaming and it will rename. Rename is completed. Because I am a contributor, I can change or modify the resource, but if you look at this, I cannot assign role to anyone. It's disabled because as a contributor, I'm not allowed to manage the access permissions. That's why contributor can change something on the assets, like on the resource, but not manage. So that's the difference. So we saw how a reader and the contributor role matters and how really granular level of access to each users or application really matters in the Azure environment. Alright, so we finished the demo. Hope you understood and you can apply those things in the real world. Now, summary of this RBAC. Azure RBAC is a flexible, scalable way to manage who can access resources and what action they can perform. Now, it also provides the security and compliance by adhering to the least privilege principle. RBAC roles can be assigned at different levels. Remember, it can be assigned at subscription, resource group, or individual resource. Okay, so you can apply to any of these levels. So that is what you should understand about RBAC. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comment section. If you're looking for any specific video, you also have to let me know in the comment section. Stay tuned for all of the upcoming Azure videos. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more tech tutorials. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified when we post new videos. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Happy coding!